Hi, everyone. This is Keith with Unpunched, and I'm here with Stephan Fertig, who is one of the people in partners, I guess, involved at Cardium Games, who produced the Oil Man game.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on, Keith.
First off, I guess I want to find out where you guys discovered the Oil Man game and what your history is with it.
I guess it would be the same as you. Like you said, I'd played it a little bit over the years in the past. I guess as later as a teen and a young adult. And then, I mean, I'm involved directly in the oil and gas industry, have been since I got out of high school. And it's been really brutal in the patch here the last 6-7 years. It's been a big downturn, really slow. One of my coworkers had come to me, Sanford, the other partner now, he said, hey, we both like this game. We should reach out and just see what's going on. Hadn't been produced. There hadn't been a new run made for years and years and years. So that's how we kind of got the first steps of reaching out to the prior owner.
Whereabouts are you guys located?
So we're just right in Drayton Valley, like heart of the Pembina oil field here. I mean, it's just an oil town, blue collar working town. So that's about our history. That's our involvement with the kind of the oil man game. Kind of fixed what we do with our day-to-day lives. So kind of worked out really good.
Yeah. So going from the oil industry into manufacturing a board game seems like a big jump. Were there any fears or hesitations that you had going into it?
You know what I mean? I guess there was no hesitation, but we were clueless at the time. So I mean, we didn't know. I mean, especially everything coupled with COVID. I mean, it was nothing but the typical backlogs, back order, supply chain issues, all the regular stuff. But it was exciting. That's why we wanted to get into it. It's something totally different than what we're used to doing. We still work in the oil and gas side, and we took this on as a little side project. But definitely totally different than what we were used to doing day to day.
What goes into the manufacturing of just a copy of the Oil Man game? What kind of work is involved?
There's quite a bit. Like I said, what we have is there's still the original molds that produce the game. So just plastic injection molding is what it is. So when we got these molds, there hadn't been a run done for quite a few years and years. So we had to go through all the molds. We had to get them remachined, all brought up to snuff. Then find a chemical or a plastic outfit in the city who we've partnered with, and they do all of the plastic injection molding right in Edmonton, Alberta there.
Well, why do you feel that you guys were really the ones to bring back this story? Was there do you feel like you were connected with this game?
You know what? I mean, I think it was more, it was a cool idea. It was fun. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the game. So was the other partners. It's very hard to find. We were starting to see these games go online for $300 and $400 because you couldn't find them anywhere. So anybody wanted spare parts, spare pieces, you couldn't get anything. So that's what it originally drove us to find the previous owner and get into it. But I mean, it would seem so cool. I mean, we were in oil and gas, and it was just a board game based around that. So it just kind of fit in with our day-to-day lives. So it was kind of cool.
So who's all involved with it now? You said you have two other partners.
There is myself, Sanford, and then one other gentleman who is kind of just removed from the day-to-day operations of it. But there's just the three of us. Like I said, all have the oil and gas background, and that was the whole reason why we wanted to pursue it from the previous guy.
I guess for people who aren't familiar with the Oil Man game, would you mind telling us a little bit about the game?
Yeah, you basically, I mean, it's like, I guess you'd say true to life sort of deal with the boom and the bust of the oil patch. I mean, essentially you're given a plot of land you have to bid on with a little bit of money, and then you drill on that land, and you have oil at different levels in the game, and the deeper you go, the more it costs. And if you drill offshore, it costs more as well. So you might not hit oil on a certain level, but then you got to go back and spend more money to go to a deeper zone and see if there's oil below that. And I mean, essentially that's it. And some guys go broke early on in the game. Some guys do very well early on in the game, just like it is in real life. So
yeah, I think it's really neat that one plot of land might look like it's completely useless until you dig deep enough and you hit like a really big.
Absolutely, you never know. That's the thing, and the game changes every single time. Like I said, it's completely randomized on 3 different levels. So every time you pick up that game and you move it, it's going to be different from the previous time you played.
I guess what challenges did you have trying to recreate a game that's 40 years old now?
I guess you know what, that was just like you said there, it was old, so everything needed to be brought up to snuff and modernized. Like I said, all the old, there was original printing, original everything. So we basically just put a modern spin. I mean, made it look the art a little nicer, produced a couple bigger bills for the game, But then going through the molds and getting the supply chain down was the hardest part. I mean, we had to deal with the guy getting the molds. That was fine, but they hadn't been used for years, so it was all the remachining, finding suppliers, guys that were willing to take it on, and then actually produce the game, and then printing all the maps, all the paper, all the artwork. It was a lot of little things with a couple bigger hurdles in there, but we seem to overcome it and are making a go of it now. So
Was there anything that you had to change from the original one to be able to do it now?
you know what? As far as the molds go, they required a little bit of work, wasn't too bad. But other than that, we basically had all the old, I shouldn't say art files. They were just physical pads that we had from back in the day. So after we uploaded those and went to a different kind of graphic designer, he kind of detailed them a little nicer, brought them up to snuff. But other than that, like I said, there wasn't one specific thing that was too hard. It was just 1,000 little tiny things to get taken care of.
Another thing I'm really interested in is that you're doing most of your manufacture basically locally between Drayton Valley and Edmonton. Um, what benefits and what challenges does that have? Whereas most of the people are getting everything done in China nowadays.
Well, that's the, I mean, there's not, I mean, the benefit is with what we see right off the bat. It's awesome because you see people in Drayton Valley that I've lived here my whole life. I'm 33 years old. So, I mean, it's people that I'm connected with, friends, family, local guys that you see in the grocery store. They're able to be put to work, and it's not hard work. It's awesome work for someone who wants to put in a couple hours a day. But back to the point is you're seeing the people in the community going to work. It's all built here. It kind of gives like a sense of camaraderie for the town. And then I feel very happy knowing that basically everything is manufactured and assembled right here in Canada, and more specifically Alberta.
What challenges has the pandemic had over your shipping and production lines? I feel like you kind of jumped in right when everything kind of went down.
Yes, you're right. So that was the difficult part. Was sourcing all the plastic was the biggest thing, right? So getting all the bulk pellets and plastic was a hard part of it. And then same thing, our suppliers that would make the maps and the artwork, they were having issues of their own supply chain, getting their inks and their papers to do it. So it was a lot of money up front and then waiting for the final product to come back to us for assembly. So it was a little nerve wracking there at some points. Like I said, you're seeing all the stuff go out and you're hoping it's going to come in, but I mean, it was the same boat as everybody else has been in the last 2 years. So we just kind of went with it and we're patient, and it seems to be working out okay now. Knock on wood.
Yeah. What kind of marketing strategies do you use to raise awareness of your game and to kind of find a new audience for this classic?
So biggest thing I think was with the marketing was dipping the toe in. The guy we got it before was, I mean, an older gentleman from a different era. So I mean, he was in physical game stores at the time. He said the internet like essentially wasn't around. He didn't do that. He was even in the point where he was running ads in newspapers and people were sending in an order physically in the mail and he would ship them a game. So we've dipped our toe in, are about 99% all online through social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, every avenue we can basically get onto that way. And then if this progresses and it seems to be okay and we can work with the price points, then maybe we can start bringing a few more dealers on down the road and actually have some physical places to buy that.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic to see that out and about. Yeah, I guess. Do you have any ideas in making like new maps or new stuff for the game?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. As far as that, I mean, that's the biggest request we get, right? I mean, everybody, it's no different than me being in Alberta. I love the Western Canada map because you get to see basically the prairie provinces, a little bit of the territories, but then you get connected to it because you see the Edmonton and the Calgary and the little towns on the map. So that's our biggest request. I mean, and statewide as well. I mean, lots of the big oil states, your North Dakotas, your Texas, your Oklahomas, all the guys that got the big oil plays, they're just dying to make us a custom map. We'd love to see a map in there. And then another one is the corporate orders for lots of businesses, guys that said, hey, you know what, we're tired of handing out the same, cup or t-shirt or hat or jacket. So they get an oil man game, we put their logo on their form and they hand it out. And it's been really good reviews that way. So, but yes, you're right. No, number one thing is the maps. Everybody wants a map of the neck of the woods that they're living in. So it's kind of
Yeah,
cool to see.
yeah, I'd be interested in seeing a bunch of new maps for that. I think that'd be really really
Absolutely.
cool idea. What do you feel that the Oil Man game is very authentically Alberta? Why is that really kind of gravitated to Albertans?
You know what? I mean, that's basically where the game has been produced. I mean, the guy that I had purchased it from, there was only one, there was a group of them that had it going, and a couple of guys were from BC, but all kind of had ties to the oil and gas. They basically moved it out to Alberta early on, and it's always been manufactured here for day one. And you get out, I mean, you get out of the little oil and gas towns, and people have never heard of the game. I mean, there's quite a few people that do, but the majority of the people had never heard of this game, and that is because it is so specific to Alberta and oil and gas, and that's where we're trying to really push it out and get it out to everybody there. But yes, no, I mean, it resonates with all the patch guys, everybody involved with the oil patch. They love playing a game where it's based on the industry they're in. Plus, they can see all the little towns that they're connected to, the cities and everything on the maps, like we were just saying. It's kind of neat. So I mean, it brings it home for a lot of people that way.
Why do you feel like it's important to support a lot of local independent game designers and game publishers right now?
I mean, I think it's in an era where everything is digital and online, and I've got 4 little kids at home, and that is always the struggle, right? Is the constant screen time. And even growing up, I mean, we played quite a few board games as a family and as kids, and it's just, I feel like we would benefit as a society getting back to that. I mean, it's nothing beats sitting around with your family playing a board game, whether it's our board game, Monopoly, whatever board game you're into. It's just turn the TV on for a while, sit around, and just have a good time playing board games. It's awesome. So any aspect we can support in that this community is great, is excellent.
That's awesome. I guess like what games really gravitated to you when you were young? Any other ones that really jumped
Well, all
out?
the big cliche ones, big
Yeah.
monopolies, the risks, all that kind of stuff. I mean, and then like I said, back with 4 little kids now. So I mean, it's snakes and ladders. It's all anything they want to play. I mean, big into card games, big into board games, anything where you're basically sitting around the table and just shooting the breeze and having fun. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, I feel like board games have kind of had a new reinvigoration, at least, especially like in Alberta. Why do you think that board games have really gravitated to people right now?
I don't know. I mean, I guess probably with the whole pandemic going on, the whole COVID thing. I mean, everyone's been trapped in the house for 2 years and no one's been traveling. I mean, I guess you're almost forced to interact with your family and friends again at a certain level.
Yeah, yeah, you might sitting face to face. You might as well have something, a board or something in between.
Absolutely. No, it's been really good though. It's been pretty cool to see. So
How do you think that we could make like the board game design community more inviting to new players and to like new generation of people to join?
well, I mean, I'm hoping that, I mean, that's some of that onus. I mean, apart from the advertising, but I mean, I hope some of the onus is on the parents raising these kids. It's not all about being on the phone and the screen, and bring out a board game if from time to time. Even once a month if you throw it down the table and you want to play for a couple hours. And same thing. I mean, I'd love to see more of these little communities. Having a games night and trying to bring people together and playing, or anything of that aspect. But like I said, it's in a digital world, it's definitely challenging to try and get people to put the screens down and play an old board game. So no, I mean, like I said, anything we can do to raise awareness, but it's kind of, I don't know if it's more of an old school kind of thing that people are kind of thinking is cool, is making its round again. It's cool again to sit down and play a board game, but whatever it is, we'll take it and we'll run with it as long as we can. So
Yeah. Is there a lot of board games in Drayton Valley? Do you find like there's a lot of places to find new games?
no, I mean, I mean, other than like your Walmart or the local drugstores, I mean, they have quite a wide selection, which is also, I mean, it's almost overwhelming, and that was part of the whole dealer thing. We were looking at the dealer aspect of it, but I mean, you're sitting on a shelf, you're one game with 100 other games right there beside it, so it's really trying to get your game to stand out was the tricky part. But as far as access to games, no, it's I mean, with the Walmart here and I mean Amazon, anybody can get anything they want the next day, basically. So.
Any luck trying to get Oil Man into Walmart?
You know what? I'm sure they would. At the scale we are now, we're pretty
Yeah.
tiny. If we ever got to where we start cranking out, 15 or 20,000 games a year or more, then they'd probably entertain it. But it's all back to that, like you said, being built and manufactured here. It's kind of a self-made problem. Everybody wants cheap products and they don't want to pay money for it. But at the same time, everybody wants to see everything manufactured here. And it's where we are right now. It's you kind of got to pick one or the other. If everything's manufactured, you're gonna be paying a little bit more for it. So maybe down the road that could be something, but hopefully,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, there's something special about just basically a handcrafted game that comes out of somewhere local that you could almost know the people who put it together.
Oh,
Um,
totally. And that's the
yeah,
thing. If people find out it's all built and they're like, well, they see it's built in Drayton Valley and they go, well, I know where that is. That's only a couple hours away in Alberta. They know the town, they know the area. So that's exactly, as soon as they kind of find out, they're like, well, that's pretty cool. I don't
mm,
know anyone else building the board games. That's kind of neat.
yeah. Yeah, I guess what have your sales been like throughout the years?
You know
How's
what?
that?
They haven't been too bad. At the start was really hard getting the biggest thing is we spent on was just revamping it all. So there was a couple games we had built, and then it was back to the drawing board because they were still. I mean, the original guy was gluing the tops on, so we got away from that, went to plastic rivets. It was a lot of troubleshooting, but year over year the sales grow, not big growth, but a slow and steady growth until we can get to the point where we really want to hit the ground running. So it's moving in the right direction, anyways. So
That's good. Glad to hear.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess anything else planned for the future at the moment?
You know what? I think just keep trying to tweak it and perfect it, bring on a whole bunch more maps, and I guess we'll see where any kind of research and development goes. I mean, if there's something we can all sit around, have a beer about the partners and think of a new board game idea, then we're all for it. But right now, we're just going to kind of focus on this thing and perfect it as best as we can.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I commend you on bringing that back. I'm really glad to see that back in the spotlights. Where can people find out more about the Oil Man game?
You know what? If you want to go right to the website, theoilmangame.com or our Facebook page, the Oil Man Game, everything is on there. All it has links to the website, all the email addresses for points of contact, and you can find out all the information you need right there, as well as backgrounds of myself and Sanford and everything that goes along with the Oil Man Game.
That's great. All right. Yeah, I think that's all the questions I have today.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been great, like I said, to interact with other guys that are kind of in the business and they like show an interest in it. So, like I said, anytime you have any questions or you want to chat, just let us know.
Perfect. All right. I will say goodbye to everyone right now.